Let's use our imagination first. Let's talk about the John Krasinski movie that to him is still a family film, uh, just like all of his films. Even though the last one has been a horror movie, and the one before that I think was a horror movie. Most of his stuff has always been centered around a family in one way or another. Even with the Hollers, I don't know if you remember the Hollers.
Oh yeah, I didn't until this very moment, to be honest.
So, like, John obviously did the big jump in going from being the goofy guy that we know from The Office to then obviously trying out to be Captain America. He's been retelling stories about that, which I think is really interesting because obviously it went to somebody else. But John Krasinski has been able to do stuff outside of Marvel, and I think that's been really cool. What's that Chris movie that's been out that isn't that cameo or the role in Knives Out? I like the roles that he's been able to take, even if it is him casting himself in some movies. And look, I don't know where you stand on this because I've been hearing a lot of conflicting reports with this. I'm an if defender, bro.
Really? Okay, we're gonna go here now.
I didn't mind it. I thought it was cute, dude.
Put that on the poster. I didn't mind it.
I didn't mind it. It was cute.
All right. What made you think it was so cute? Because I'm curious whether it was like the relationships, whether it is the characters themselves, whether it is like the heartfelt message of the movie.
Yeah, the idea of it. Go ahead.
Yeah, for me, I just felt like it was emotional manipulation from start to finish. Like, it's this movie that's sort of like trying to espouse the value of like having fun and enjoying yourself and remembering the good things. And it just like, I never found it any of those qualities. I didn't find it fun. I thought the characters were all like, annoying rather than endearing. I don't know, man. Do you like all of the imaginary beings of this world?
No, hey, I don't care for any of the imaginary friends. The logic is as dumb as it could be.
Yeah.
And it's 100% manipulative. But I thought the message was pretty cute. I know John Krasinski had said he had directed this because out of all the movies that he's made, he wanted to make something for his kids.
Right.
Specifically during the pandemic, he was like, my kids just stopped using their imagination. They were home all the time. They started losing, that little, not even bit of reality, but the creative process that he usually saw in his kids. And he wanted to make something that he could actually show them because I think they're not even like 10 years old yet. I thought that approach of making a story that may not be for adults, but kind of is, in my opinion, I'd even defended it there. I thought it was adorable in the sense that it's telling you, even when you go through stress, even when you go through traumas, whatever it may be, at the end of the day, you can still tap into, that cliche idea of somebody being there for you. You're never really alone. To me, it reminds me of those old movies that you saw growing up. I'm not going to say that it's up there with the Flubbers and all the other imaginative movies that we've had.
Yeah.
But then you go back.
The grandma's watching Harvey on the TV at one point in the movie.
Yeah. You go and you check that movie that you saw as a kid. Now that you're older, you look at the letterbox, you look at the Rotten Tomatoes, and you're like, damn, people hated it. I see this movie kind of like that. I think the audience has liked the movie because this is one of those where it's definitely been split. But out of most of the movies that came out this weekend, if I'm not mistaken, this actually had a decent audience rating. I think Strangers kind of tanked. The Back to Black movie, I think, has been very split. I'm on the side of the audience for this one. I am not denying anything the critics are saying about it. It's obviously very manipulative. It's goofy. It's very much meant for kids. But Zach, I'm imploring you, open your heart. Find that kid-like wonder in you. For a second, it did get me. I like the storyline towards the end. I think the big moment with Blue, because the whole idea with If is that there are these imaginary friends, but then the If word's also supposed to be the what if. What if you didn't grow up? What if you didn't let go of those things that gave you that childlike wonder? Would you still be able to tap into those stuff? And our main character here, who I thought was pretty decent, I don't know if you've seen her in other stuff. She's always playing like the young version of somebody. She was in The Walking Dead as Judith. I know she played young Ray.
Haley Fleming, the actress.
She does a decent job of embodying the kid. I'm not saying that she's out there like Dakota Fanning. I'm not saying that she's the next, like child action star or whatever. But I thought that she embodied playing off of all of these imaginary friends, playing off of, what's his name, Ryan Reynolds' character, who I'm not going to say is the strongest part of the movie. He's been hilarious in interviews. He's decent here. But the stuff that she goes through is her losing her mom. Then in that same hospital, she's about to lose her dad because he has a heart condition. From there, she's living with her grandmother, and she ends up finding these imaginary friends in this world where it's kind of like everyone's been comparing it to Blue's Foster's Home of Imaginary, what is it, friends, pets?
Yeah.
They need to find other people because, like Toy Story, they've been outgrown by their child, and maybe they need to be adopted by someone else.
Yeah, there's sort of like a reverse Bing Bong arc going on because she's like, because of the position she's in, because of her parents, has been forced to grow up too fast, but she still could use the help of an imaginary friend. And the plot kind of like struggles to shift into gear. I found like they have a couple false starts over what they're doing with all these imaginary creatures, and like the vibe is sweet. Like I understand.
That's it. Yeah.
Finding this film to be kind of like a warm hug, and I think it's really elevated by its score, which is by Michael Giacchino, who's a ace composer for films. I think that the score is doing a lot of the heavy lifting here because I don't think the story really merits that much consideration. And at its heart, like I just not sure I would find it that entertaining if I was a kid. It is a little bit slow moving.
Really?
And I found it a little bit saccharine from the perspective of an adult.
Open your heart, Zach. I'm telling you, I think that there's some heartfelt stuff in here. Again, there's a storyline when comparing them trying to find their kids again, where Blue, who's voiced by Steve Carell, that's been like a big part of the marketing, that they've reunited with each other. He's doing his Despicable Me stuff in there. I swear... He swears in this movie. There are moments where he does a little Minions thing where he says something that can sound like two different things. He is the imaginary friend to one of the guys who's in here. I'm blanking on what his name is, but you see him in the trailer.
Bobby Moynihan is the actor.
Yeah. You didn't like that scene?
Not particularly.
I thought it was adorable because there's a big aspect of this movie with them being kids that she's obviously interacting with all of them. But then there's a moment where when the adults start interacting with them, they almost play it off, other than the ending, they play it off a lot like it's them remembering a moment. I like the sensory triggers, that whole idea of when you're able to remember a song, a scent, an idea, you can go back to that moment. And I thought those elements were pretty good for a kid's movie. I thought the banter between... some of the imaginary friends, because they're like the most stacked cast possible. I don't know if you actually got to see them.
Was there any particular voice actor who stood out to you? Because like you're sort of sitting, if you're not like scrolling IMDb before or after the movie, you're sitting there trying to place it. Like Jon Stewart stands out. I feel like he's got a pretty recognizable voice. Phoebe Waller-Bridge, I obviously got pretty quickly because she's got a big role. Makes sense that Emily Blunt would be here, but I didn't place that very quickly either.
Yeah, they have both of their wives are in here doing different voices. I believe the imaginary friends are also based off of his imaginary friends when he was a kid and his daughter's imaginary friends when they were kids. So it's got that like adorable element to it. But the people that he got here, George Clooney plays the spaceman.
Reprising his role from Gravity, yeah.
Bradley Cooper's in here as a cup of water, an ice cold cup of water. Matt Damon as a flower. My favorite was Bill Hader as a banana.
Bill Hader as a banana, yeah. See, I just thought the design was like really basic on a lot of these. Like you can tell that John Krasinski isn't exactly like a Pixar level type of visual stylist. Just.
I'm not giving it the visual flair there, but I like that you mentioned Giacchino because they've been trying to call this a live-action Pixar, and I'm like, wait, when you got Giacchino who did the Inside Out score, I mean, that's going to do a lot of heavy lifting. But again, I think from the child's perspective, I like if I was watching this when I was a kid or if I was playing this for a kid, I think it's got the moments that I want from it. It's obviously manipulative, but I think if I went and watched a lot of the movies that I watched growing up now, I'd be like, yeah, that's why it has a low Rotten Tomatoes score. But for the purpose of what he was going for, I like the fact that he went from doing these, horror movies back to back, whatever the Hollers was. And then having this one. He's always going to find a way to inject himself into the story, but I'm, I guess, a sucker for filmmakers who make, like, love letters to their families within their movies. I don't know what the love letter was in A Quiet Place. It's that clip of the kid dying's been doing the rounds. But, hey, that's why I'm saying I'm a defender. I know for most critics I'm on the lower end of it, but I thought it was cute, and I wasn't expecting it. I'm gonna give you the ending though. The ending is a little manipulative. It's adorable, but the twist is a little weird.
The twist. Well, please tell me you saw the twist coming, because I feel like it's basically doing the Sixth Sense throughout the movie.
Yes.
Which is such a
Big
weird
spoilers,
twist to pull for a kid's film.
But like, imagine if you're a kid though, you'd be like,
Sure.
okay. You know what it is? You know
And
what
then
it
these
is?
kids are going to grow up and watch Sixth Sense and be like, he ripped it off.
Damn you, M. Night. It's because it's live action. I think if it was animated, it would have worked better. Like you had mentioned Bing Bong, and I think that Bing Bong element is a lot easier when you're, animated. You're completely in that world. Here they're trying to do a Roger Rabbit, Osmosis Jones type thing, and I think that probably rips a lot out of it. So he doesn't handle that the best, but I think, at that mid-lower tier, as Chase would put it, that mid-tier level of kids movie when it comes to imaginary friends, I was surprised. I thought it was pretty cute. It's not making my mid-year list or anything like that, but I got to give it to John Krasinski. There was moments in there where I was just like, I see what you're doing here. For when you're no longer here, Lord forbid, you have something to tell your kids. Hey, always believe in yourself. Always know that you're never going to be alone. There's always going to be someone there with you. So,
yeah, I wouldn't say this is like among the worst of the year for me.
Right?
But
Yeah.
I think it's skippable for sure.
All right. If in theaters now, I will say, theater tickets are too expensive. Wait till it comes home. I'm sure it's going to be streaming somewhere. Do you know who it is? Is it Universal? Paramount. It'll be on Paramount Plus. It'll be on Paramount Plus.
We'll see how much longer Paramount Plus. Yeah.
And that's going to be an imaginary streaming service. What would you like to see John Krasinski do?
I don't know. I feel like he has this like he's kind of got a foot in like the sort of action tough guy world. He obviously was in Reacher for a while. Are you talking in front of the camera or behind it? That's actually a good question.
Oh,
right?
I don't like anything. Like, where do you want to see him go on vacation? What do you want to see him talk about? Because my man has turned into a true dad's dad. Like, all he does is say dad jokes, and I like it.
Yeah, I want to see him bring back some good news. How about that?
Bro, you should have never sold it. I literally sat through a montage of his best bits from that when he helped that little girl see Hamilton because of COVID and they got canceled. And the dude brought all of the Hamilton stars out. That was a good show. Yeah, he should have never sold it. But what happened to it? Like,
I think it just sort of died. I didn't
People
turn
went
into
out?
anything. Yeah.
people went outside.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. If. There is one. The Invisible Friend.
Keith.
Do you know who that is?
Brad Pitt.
What is it with Brad Pitt playing invisible people? He did that in Deadpool 2.
Well, it's a cameo you don't even have to show up for, right?
The man just doesn't want to be seen anymore, I guess.
But Keith doesn't have any lines, does he? I think he's just credited, right?
That's why I don't get why he's in the movie.